Welcome to OkState Daily. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. Hey, super excited. We have an all-new co-host, Scott McKinley, who goes to a lot of the softball games. You saw him play the bagpipes, both at the softball game earlier this year and then Saturday at the baseball game at OkState Stadium. So, Scott, super excited to bring you into the team. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to this. I think this is going to be great.
Yeah. Hey, I know you're a huge softball fan, huge baseball fan. You're a very high-level umpire at the high school level, done some college baseball too, and was a high-level baseball player back in your day too. So, hey, tell us what you think about the softball team to this point. I know it was a little bit disappointing weekend this weekend. We'll get into that, but your overall thoughts on this year's team.
You know, I think the main thing with this team is what I see is there's a lot of talent on this team. You know, I think that there's a lot of young talent. We did have some inexperience in some places, got a lot of experience in other places. But it's the same thing as with any team. Is they've got to figure out how do we make that mesh? How do we make that work? Obviously, the teams. We had a great series win against Texas. We did great against Houston. Actually got a pretty good midweek game win against Tulsa this last week. For whatever reason, Tulsa has given us fits. Not just this year.
For one, they're good.
Yeah. Got to give credit to Tulsa. Then we go to Iowa State, and just to be frank, we didn't swing the bats. I mean, that's really what it came down to.
So is that a trend kind of we've seen this year? And of course, this team has been simply fantastic. I mean, they're 35-8, they're 13-5 in conference. So to have any kind of negativity at all, you're nitpicking, no doubt about it. But if you were to nitpick this team, would you say that this weekend would show that they rely on the long ball too much?
I think so. One of the statistics that I saw on the Friday night game is that we didn't draw any walks, and we did not have a single extra base hit.
Yeah, five singles.
Yeah, just a lot of singles, and a lot of them weren't back to back to back. They were sprayed out over. I think we had 5 hits, I believe. They were sprayed out over several innings, and that's just it's hard to. You got to clump those together if you're gonna try to put some runs up on the board.
Well, the Cowgirls obviously did that on Sunday, but you mentioned on Friday, of course, Lexi Kilfoyle was fantastic again. She has the lowest ERA of any pitcher in the Big 12. As a matter of fact, Ivy Rosenberry has the second lowest ERA. So when you look at those two and that duo, that is a duo of pitching, and then you can add in, some of the depth that the Cowgirls have, Kyra Aycock and Catherine Ogg. I mean, they have depth. They have very good pitching at the top. So is this pitching, do you think, good enough to maybe win a College World Series, at least make the College World Series, you think?
I think statistically, yes. I mean, when you look at Lexi Kilfoyle, she's a very experienced pitcher. She's been around. She knows not which mistakes not to make usually. I think from a pitching standpoint, OSU's right there with anybody. I think the whole thing with this team is how far will the bats take us?
Yeah. And the thing about it is they have so much depth. I mean, you look at Alexa McDonald, she comes in off the bench and hits tanks. Jillian Pillard last weekend had a bunt base hit to start off a really big inning that the Cowgirls needed to score, then had a home run a couple innings later. You look at Claire Tim today, who hits a home run. She actually got the home run party started today for the Cowgirls. They had 4 home runs today. So this is a team, it's kind of interesting, Coach Gajewski. There's about 13, 14 girls that all need consistent playing time, and it's been interesting to see how he's incorporated all of them.
Yeah. The other interesting thing to me is you look at what we did today. I was just going to look at the stats here. So we had 11 hits, scored 10 runs. And what I think is also interesting about that is, Sherman was the Iowa State pitcher who really was the one that kept us off balance on Friday. Different day.
No doubt. No doubt.
Sometimes just a different day. Sometimes if you've seen a pitcher more than once, this from your coaching days, by the time you see a pitcher 2-3 times through a lineup, a lot of times your bats will start waking up a little bit. So, and they certainly did today, that's for sure.
So is this a weekend that's alarming? Like, hey, yeah, there were some things that have been going on this year that maybe that have been covered up with some late inning heroics, maybe, if you will. I know in Florida earlier in the season against Stetson, you had some earlier season heroics. You had some heroics in the Baylor series a couple of different times there. So is this maybe a couple of trends that have been going on all season that got covered up by some heroics, or is it's just softball? Hey, it happens. Sometimes you don't hit. It's the hardest thing in sports. Or is it a little bit of both, you think?
I'm kind of choosing to believe it's just softball. Now that may be I've got a little bit of orange colored glasses on, but the other thing is, because since I'm an OSU fan, the fact that it was in Ames, Iowa, that right there, just I don't know, for whatever reason, that Ames, Iowa was like kryptonite to OSU teams. but
you had to go there, didn't you?
I know. But no, I really think that this was just, but at the same time, and we saw the same thing. Something happened last year where, remember the funk that team got in, where they just, we just flat couldn't win a game, and then we ended up going all the way back to the World Series. They got it together in postseason. So I as of right now, today, April 14th, I think this was just an aberration. I think it was, okay, we had a bad weekend. It's not, I'm definitely not going to overreact to it. I think this team has got talent. They've proven they've got talent. Just had a couple bad days at the plate. That's really what it came down to.
They miss Talon Edwards too, don't they? I know it's next girl up and it's all that, and coaches say it all the time, and they mean it. Hey, Josh says it all the time. Hey, we recruited Division I athletes, which means all of these guys are quality enough to be at Oklahoma State, which means when they get their chance, they have to play like they're an Oklahoma State baseball player. Certainly it's the same with softball with Coach Gajewski as well. Hey, all of these girls, especially the freshmen, hey, everybody here is capable of being a great player. Otherwise, they wouldn't be wearing an OSU Cowgirls softball uniform, right? So it is next girl up, but I would have to think this team is missing Talon Edwards.
Oh, definitely. Talon Edwards is probably one of the best pure hitters in our lineup. We need her back. She's, I can't tell you, her very young career, she started very, very young ball player, but how many, already 2 years in, how many big hits has she delivered at the right time? A lot of this game is you got to deliver the hit at the right time. One of the things that it's funny, I'm coaching my daughter's 8 and under team this year, which that's a challenge in and of itself. But one of the things that I was talking with the coach about, because we got some girls that'll put the ball in play, but we don't get a whole lot of power, is, outside of getting walks, if you want to score only hitting singles, it's going to take at minimum 3, and possibly, depending on where the single was hit, it could take 4. Well, if you're up against a halfway decent arm, how many times do you string together 3-4 hits in a row just to get one run? Doesn't happen very often. So to me, it's the other things. It's being able to lay down a bunt when it's necessary. It's being able to, you got to be able to draw some walks. And then finally, you need somebody we got to get a double. You look at today, I think we started the scoring off with a triple. Just when the time's right, somebody's got to deliver the big hit. I actually did get to go to the OSU not to switch sports, but I went to a couple of OSU baseball games this weekend. And, yesterday, Abe Miola, gets bases loaded, knocks in a grand slam. That changed the game in the first inning.
Yeah.
That's to me, that's to me, the story of this weekend. We were lacking. We just couldn't get that big hit when we needed it.
What are your biggest concerns moving forward? I know this sounds a little bit more negative than it should. Again, We're nitpicking. This is a great softball team. This is an elite program. I don't want you to think that we're on here just bashing this program or anything like that. Certainly not that. Just really wanted to have a good quality conversation after a weekend that didn't go the way that you wanted it to, as to maybe some of the things that you would like to see the Cowgirls start doing maybe that would allow them to reach the goals that they have this year. What would those things be for you?
I think for me, one is consistency offensively. You look at it'd be great if we could do what we did today, if we could do that every single game, but that's not realistic. You're going to have games where the bats just aren't going. So, okay, if it's not going, the old saying, what's the best way to break out of a slump? Lay down a bunt. Let's
draw a walk, steal a base, something like that. Yeah,
right. Let's do something to generate something offensively. I think Ivy Rosenberry has done very well. One thing I would like to see is I think Kyra Aycock has a very good chance to be a very, very good pitcher. She's had some struggle outings, but I thought she did better against Tulsa last week.
Yes.
She did good enough to win. So I think that's the things I'd like to say. I think the main thing, the number one thing, is just we've got to find a way when we're not just pounding the ball, we've got to find a way to generate some offense.
I would totally agree, because I think if the Cowgirls want to win a conference title, if they want to win the conference tournament, if they want to win a regional, maybe even win the College World Series, I think they're going to need Kyra Aycock.
Yes. Yeah. For one thing, another thing, I was talking with my wife about it, I think is interesting, is if you were to go back in time 20 years ago in softball, a lot of times the same girl would throw every single game. You'd have one pitcher throwing 80-90% of your pitches in a season, and that's just not the case anymore. The game has changed. You've got to be able to develop a second, a lot of times even a third arm, if you're going to make a deep playoff run, for sure.
Is this the best freshman class you've seen come through here?
Yeah. No, the talent that Coach Gajewski has been able to bring in has consistently gotten better over his tenure. I think what's he been here 7-8 years now, something like that. He has consistently upgraded the talent. So no, like I said, that's why I believe that this weekend it was what it was, and I'm not worried. At least at this point.
It's been really cool how he's been able to mesh. It's a really cool roster, because you're able to mesh a girl like Talon Edwards, who's been here, with some of the freshmen, within some of the transfer portal girls that have moved in and fit right in. So doing that and trying to fit all of the different scenarios and stories together isn't as easy as Coach Gajewski's made it look.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that he has done a phenomenal job, is he has, in an age where we kind of almost load the transfer portal. I know as a fan that it drives you nuts sometimes, but Coach Gajewski has used that transfer portal very, very well to our advantage. But at the same time, he's brought in girls with different backgrounds from different schools, different parts of the country, and they do play as a team. And that's as you said, it's a great skill that I think is underrated by a lot of people, is being able to get teams to work together like that. It's not just a bunch of individuals.
We saw it with Coach Gundy in the football season with guys like Josiah Johnson and guys like that. And then we've seen it a lot in baseball with the transfer portal with guys like Brian Holiday. Of course, he was JUCO, but Sam Garcia, where OSU is a unique place. And so you bring in Tommy Molsky's a perfect example of this. And as far as Stillwater goes, and Caroline Wong's an example of this, is that you get these people in here and they're like, hey man, this is a great college town. I love it. It's quiet. It's what this whole town revolves around. So the transfer portal is interesting for me for a place like Oklahoma State, because you're dealing with older people that have a better idea of what they actually do want out of their college experience that they have left. And really, when you evaluate Oklahoma State as an older person, you're like, hey, this has a lot of qualities of what a college athlete would want. So I think the transfer portal, in a lot of ways, as long as the NIL money is somewhat equal, has benefited Oklahoma State.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the great misconceptions is, because the transfer portal, what gets all the headlines is it's always football, right? And it's always the eye-popping numbers of NIL, the Caleb Williams saga, all that kind of stuff. But when you really think about it, there's an awful lot of athletes out there that they're not going to get huge NIL deals. And really what they're looking for in a university is they want to play for a coach that obviously is knowledgeable, someone that they want to play for. And play with teammates that they want to play for. And you're right. I think that of course, again, I'm biased, but I think Stillwater has an awful lot to offer an athlete that's like that.
I would totally agree. Back to the softball team and today's game. Let's jump all the way to Sunday. Of course, you had the 5 singles. On Friday, you had, I believe, a double and a single. On Saturday, just 2 hits on Saturday. So we will fast forward to today's game, which would be Sunday. Claire Tim hits her first home run of the season. She's hitting .325, OPS .881, 5 home runs. Very dynamic player, really good depth. She can play a lot of different roles for this team. So it was really fun to see Claire Tim get that home run.
Yeah. No, today was it was a good bounce back day, and that's also one of those things they talk about, the the characteristics of a good ball club is you got to be able to bounce back. Because again, in this game, sometimes that can happen. I remember a couple years ago we saw that with OU and they got beat by James Madison.
Yeah,
that was one nobody saw that coming.
And by the way, there were a lot of upsets this weekend. Oklahoma State wasn't the only team to get upset this weekend.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I think that. I mean, it's a good thing that when you look at how much winning we have done, the expectation is that, well, we're just going to sweep everybody. And then we're going to duke it out with OU and Texas. But really, when you think about it, softball, the game is set up to where, some days you just don't have a good day offensively. The other team just runs into one. Someday, okay, there's a ball that's just hitting. It just takes a bad bounce at the wrong time.
Yeah, right.
That's just the way the game is set up. So I thought today was a great bounce back game for him, for sure.
We talked about the freshman. Rosie Davis had 2 hits today. She had her 7th home run, and I'll tell you the thing about her. She's not real big in terms of her frame, but boy, she packs a punch, doesn't she? And having a great year. One of those just tremendous freshmen hitting well over 300. Rosie Davis, fantastic young player.
Yes, absolutely. And the thing I like about her is she's very, like you said, she's very athletic. She can hit for power. She can hit for placement when needed. But like I said, she doesn't have the largest frame, but boy, she's got power, and it's all good technique at the plate.
No doubt. Caroline Wang, is she going to reach Samantha Shao? Of course, she's 4. She has already set the record for the most amount of home runs in a single season for a catcher in Cowgirl history. She now has her sights set on Samantha Shao, who has the all-time single-season home run record for a player at any position at 20. Caroline Wang hit home run number 16 today. Is she going to catch Samantha Shao?
I think so. If I'm sitting here right now, I think she's going to catch her. I really do. Well,
how good is she? How good has she been? Man, especially last month. Caroline Wong's been amazing, hasn't she?
Yeah. Well, and especially, to me, I think it gets more difficult as the season goes on because now teams they've got a scouting report now. Now they know how dangerous of a hitter she is. They're likely going to be pitching around her. But to still be able to keep up those numbers, I mean, it's incredible what she's been able to do.
It absolutely is. And especially also as the season goes on and you're catching, I mean, your body wears down, your thumb is jammed, you never feel good. And to be able to, and then to hit for power like that after a full season of catching, basically like she's done, very impressive endurance.
Yeah, I've always said that the catcher has to be the hardest working player on the field because they're involved in every single play. Like I said, I can't say enough about her. She's been an absolute tremendous addition to this ball club. And like I said, I hope she hits 30 home runs this year.
9th home run for Carly Godwin today. Carly Godwin, one of the best freshman hitters in the country, no doubt about that.
Yes, yeah. Godwin's another one that I feel like that she's very comes up with timely hitting, can hit for power, can hit for placement. Again, just depends on what the job requires. The other thing that I also do like about this team is for the most part we don't strike out a lot.
Yeah.
We've had a few. I kind of really felt like that game on Friday. That was really an aberration. We didn't draw a single walk, which that's very unusual for us. But to me, that's one of the first steps in being a good hitter is don't swing at balls.
Yeah. Swing at the right pitches, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Lexi Kilfoyle today, 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 earned runs. To give some reference of just how good Lexi Kilfoyle has been, okay, this was the 12th time this year that she's gone at least 6 innings, and she's given up either 0 runs or 1 run 16 times this year. Lexi Kilfoyle, lowest ERA of any pitcher in the Big 12. She has been dominant. Yeah,
one of the things that I still would like to see is if you ever look at her motion, the way that she comes back, I believe that the way if you just watch her arm swing as she's coming back, the way she hides the ball until the very last second when it comes in. And if you've ever stood in the box and hit off a pitcher that does that, either baseball or softball, boy, that's hard to hit. That's just trying to get your timing right on a pitcher that does that, particularly when she mixes her off speed as well as she does. That's incredibly difficult.
I found it interesting that Coach Gajewski, for the first couple of Big 12 series, it was Rosenberg and then Kilfoyle closing, and today it was just Kilfoyle.
Yeah, that's a question I've actually asked coaches over the years, and I've gotten a varying degree of answers. Is okay, whoever your best arm is. I mean, obviously, Kilfoyle is our best arm. Do you use them once? Do you put them as a starter and you can use them, maybe once, maybe twice a series, or do you put them in as your closer where you can use them every day? There's a number of factors that go into that. One, stamina. Just depends on. It also depends on what kind of run support you think you're going to get. But I'd say Kilfoyle, she's proven she's got good stamina. It is nice to be able to rest her a day on Saturdays. I think Rosenberry has come in and done a very nice job overall. Because then if we can come back with Kilfoyle on Sunday, you got to have a good feeling going into your Sunday game, knowing you got Kilfoyle in the circle.
No doubt. Okay, Wichita State in midweek, and then Texas Tech. So tell us what you're looking forward to for this team moving forward.
Well, I'm curious to see who we throw against Wichita State. My gut tells me it may be Aycock, but she'll probably start, which I think will be good. I think Aycock is going to get better and better the more she just needs to be out there more. But I tell you, we
get some confidence.
Yeah, it's just a confidence thing. She's a good pitcher. She's got good mechanics. She's got a good arm.
Good velo.
Yeah, exactly. But I tell you what, as a team, we better not take Wichita State lightly. They've.
It's a tough game last time, man.
Yeah. They always play us tough,
and it's in Wichita this time.
Yeah. So no, we better show up on Tuesday. Hopefully we got the bats going today. Hopefully that'll continue on Tuesday. I think Texas Tech, again, that's another team that if we play and hit the ball up to our potential, we could be looking at a sweep. But I think right now let's just focus on winning 2 out of 3.
One game at a time.
Yeah. It's and really when you look at the overall scheme of things, I think winning a regular season conference crown would be fantastic. But at the same time, really what's going on right now is we're jockeying for position in the postseason. Mm-hmm. Obviously I think this team very much has deserved a regional, but I'd like to get one of those top seeds so we could potentially host a super regional as well.
100% on that one. Hey, before we get out of here, I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat. Of course, Cowgirl Stadium is not huge, but it's packed. And the OSU fans just do a tremendous job creating just a charged up environment for these girls to play underneath while they're at home. So when you go to Iowa State and there's 312 people in the stands, does that play a factor at all as far as just not being able to draw energy from the atmosphere?
I think it can. I really think it can. Athletes always try to say that, we treat every single game the same and that everything. Yeah, I get all that. In my opinion, that's coach or player speak. Let's be honest. When you're taking the field against Texas with a home crowd that is raucous from the word go, people are shooting water guns up and out in left field. Yeah. Let's be honest. You get a little bit more fired up on that. So no, again, that's not an excuse in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, you can't say that it wasn't a factor and it didn't affect the morale of the team.
Scott McKinley, any final thoughts, man? What a wonderful job you have done on this podcast. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I really am. I'm hoping we're getting to do this podcast when we're in the Women's World Series. That's what I'm hoping.
Hey, maybe we'll get to do it on site too, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, that'd be fantastic. That'd be great.
That would. Scott McKinley, thank you so much for joining, and thank you for everybody else who has decided to tune in and spend a little bit of your time watching this podcast on OkState Daily. So until next time, go Cowgirls.